Hello and welcome to my latest video looking at railway lines in Shropshire and the surrounding area. This time I'm looking at the line in Telford from Madeley Junction down to Lightmoor. Now this was primarily a freight line to serve the ironworks that were in the Lightmoor and Horsey area. It did though of course still act as a passenger service, certainly in its early days. In more recent years it's been known as the power station line because coal wagons have been coming down to the power station from Madeley Junction down through to Lightmoor, but beyond through Coalbrookdale, over the Albert Edward Bridge and into the power station. However, in November 2015, the power station closed, thus condemning this stretch of line to become Shropshire's newest disused railway.
Well, let's have a look at the map, and I've got some railways of East Shropshire here. And Madeley Junction is here on the main line. This is the Wolverhampton to Shrewsbury line, and the line branched down through Madeley Salop, or Madeley Court Station as it was called as well, and down to Lightmoor Junction. This became a junction when the line was built between Wellington and down to Coalbrookdale and Buildwas. Passenger trains could then come from Shifnal and actually turn here and go back up the line towards Wellington. The line also crosses the Wellington to Coalport East station, and we'll be visiting the crossover point here, which is right next to Madeley station. Our starting point though is to go up to here and see Madeley Junction. Here we have a picture of a coal train coming out of Madeley Junction in the 1980s. This is another picture from around the same time. This picture is from 1989 and shows a temporary passenger train which was being used to take passengers to the Ironbridge Gorge Museum, which stopped at a temporary station in Coalbrookdale. These trains ran for several years in the 1970s and 1980s.
And here is that same scene today, and as we can see, complete with no signal box. Well, I've moved around the corner and the line is now going into a southerly direction as it comes out of Stafford Park. Well, once having left Stafford Park, the line heads south to Madeley and basically follows the course of the Eastern Primary, which we can see in front of us here. The line is just to the right there behind them trees. Well, I've just come around the corner off the bridge, and to the right hand side of me you can hear the Eastern Primary. And if I go to the other side and look through that gap, you can just see the track in the distance there going from left to right. Well, I've now reached the point where two disused lines cross each other. If we take a look at the map, I'm standing here and we've got the line coming down through Storley and Sturchley down to Madeley Market. Now the old Madeley station, Madeley Court, is just past that old disused bridge. Well, this aerial photograph shows that crossing quite well. We've got the line from Wellington to Coalport East down here, crossing over the line here, and we've got Madeley Junction to the right and Coalbrookdale to the left, and Madeley Court Station was about where my finger is here. As we can see from the terrain, quite difficult to get to. So if I zoom in a bit, you can see the old bridge, which is the line going down to Madeley Market Station. Now the old Madeley station, Madeley Court Station, is just the other side of that disused bridge, but this, I'm afraid, is about as close as I'm going to get to it. It's very difficult, other than trespassing, to get round to that other side. Well, just to prove how difficult it is to get to the station, I've just come up this track, and Madeley Court, Madeley Station is the other side of that fence, down below those trees, and getting down there is nigh on impossible. I don't really fancy going over this metal fence. Now in my research I've been trying to find some pictures of Madeley Court Station, but actually there are very few. This is the most famous one, showing some workers at the station, and this is undated. The station itself opened as Madeley in 1859 and then became Madeley Court in 1880, and again changed name in 1897 to Madeley Salop. The history of this line includes a closure in the First World War in 1915, and after a brief reinstatement after the war, it soon closed permanently to traffic.
Well, despite the lack of pictures of Madeley Court Station, I have managed to dig this one out, and this shows a train parked at the station in 1956.
Well, actually, I've just come round to the other side because I was curious to see whether you could get to the station area from the other side, and I've come up a footpath from roughly where Madeley Academy is, up the line, and you can see here the structure of the bridge on the south side. Unfortunately, you can see that there's still fences that make it impossible to go and see the station area, which is through the fence there now. In fact, I can see the station area now as I look through the fence. Fortunately, there's not much to still see there, so at least we're not missing too much. Well, this is the line now coming south of Madeley Station. I'm looking northwards, but this is coming south of Madeley Station, and it's now coming down towards Lightmoor Junction. Well, I've looked south on this point. I'm at a location that's very close to Madeley Academy, for those who know the area, and round the corner there in the distance is Lightmoor Junction. Well, here we are, we're now on the line. Shropshire's newest disused railway. I'm looking here back towards where I was standing on that bridge in the distance near Madeley Academy, and if I pan to the west, we can see the line branching around the corner into Lightmoor Junction and Lightmoor Halt. Well, we can see the line starting to get a bit rusty now on the top, and that's because there hasn't been a train down here for a while since the power station closed. Now, Lightmoor Junction is only just round the corner from that public level crossing I've just been standing on, and it's actually impossible to get down there other than walking on the track. But I've got a picture here of what Lightmoor Crossing looks like at the moment. It's not the best picture quality, but this is the junction as it stands at present, and we can see on the right hand side the track coming from Madeley Junction, and the track coming down from the left. Well, there's no track now, but that bank coming down from the left is where the track came down from Horsey. This picture here is Lightmoor Junction signal box as it looks today. This aerial photograph shows Lightmoor Junction quite clearly. We've got the end of the Easton Primary here, and we've got Madeley Academy School here, for those of you who know it. And here we can see the pathway of the line coming down to Lightmoor, joining the Madeley Junction line to Coalbrookdale here. Well, I've got a picture of this junction from 1967, and this shows a coal train coming down the line from Madeley Junction. This picture shows a coal train coming up from the power station past Lightmoor Junction signal box. This picture shows Lightmoor Halt in 1854. Well, we're now going to move a mile or so down the line, and this is the Coalbrookdale area with the power station. And we can see the line coming down here, and here is Coalbrookdale Station in Station Road. Here we see the line coming down over the viaduct through Coalbrookdale and down towards Coalbrookdale Station. To my left is the Coalbrookdale Museum of Iron. Well, this is Coalbrookdale Station today. Very, very similar to the station at Longville. Well, I've got a picture of Coalbrookdale Station here, and this is dated 1962. This next picture is far more up to date, and this is a coal wagon coming down into the power station in 2015. This panoramic view of Coalbrookdale, with Coalbrookdale Station there right in the middle of the picture, is taken from the 1920s. This is the platform side of the station building, looking north. Now there's the existing line, of course, but there was actually a second line which came next to the platform here. The recent coal trains going to the power station use the far line away from the platform. In fact, actually, just looking down now, we can actually see that the line is still there next to the platform, so we can still see the double line. I assume that this line next to the platform came disused as soon as the station closed. Well, lots of wooden craft activities going on in the old station yard site. Well, let's have a quick look at the aerial picture again, and we're now going to follow the line from Coalbrookdale station down to where the line crosses the River Severn here at the Edward Albert Bridge. And this is the Albert Edward Bridge today, sadly disused. Well, you can certainly see when you're close up where they've replaced the iron with more modern steel. Well, one of the interesting things about this bridge, it's certainly a local bridge. The original cast iron, of course, came from Coalbrookdale, which is about a mile away, so didn't have to transport the iron pieces very far. Another interesting fact about this bridge is it's almost identical to the Victoria Bridge on the Severn Valley Railway, and often mistaken to be the same bridge when looked in pictures. Well, you'll see what I mean if we have a look at this picture here. It looks like we've got a steam heritage train going over the Edward Albert Bridge, but actually this is the Victoria Bridge on the Severn Valley Railway. Easily mistaken. This last picture is far more up to date, and this shows an empty coal train coming out of the power station back up towards Madeley Junction. Well, when you look at railways in the Severn Gorge area, everything comes back to the power station, which is where I am now. I'm just by the most eastern of the cooling towers, and this is about as close as I can get looking through the trees, and this holds the key to the future. If we take a look at the aerial photograph of this area, we can see the Edward Albert Bridge here. So in the future, trains come down here over the River Severn, over the bridge, past the power station here. Here's the cooling tower up to the east, and here's the track bed that takes you straight into Ironbridge. So in theory the trains could come down here over the bridge, turn left past the left cooling tower and down into Ironbridge itself. With the power station closing, of course, there's now a big campaign to get steam railways down here into Ironbridge itself. The Telford Steam Railway would like to run trains from its base at Lawley Common, which would be a park and ride, all the way down, pass through the power station area and into Ironbridge. This would be a fantastic goal to reach, particularly as you've got to remember that Ironbridge is famous for the Industrial Revolution and making iron. Big part of that is steam, and yet the Ironbridge Gorge and into Ironbridge is devoid of steam railways. And what a fantastic addition to the tourism of this area is if we get a steam train that actually runs right up to the Iron Bridge next to the old Ironbridge station. I do think though we've only got a one and only chance to get this done. If the land on the power station site is developed, say, into housing, well, it's never going to happen in the future. Also, let's go ahead 40 years, 50 years, when there's no one left who remembers steam trains. Will there still be the same drive and urge to build such a project? Probably not.